Hey, good morning, everybody. We're just going to give it a couple of seconds just whilst all the participants come into the meeting. Bear with us. Okay, the number of participants counter has stopped climbing, so we will kick off. So good morning and welcome to this edition of Constructionline Talks. Today, Martin Rogers and myself will be introducing the latest addition to Constructionline Marketplace Publish, which is tender requirements. And this morning, we're going to be recapping on Marketplace Publish to give an overview. I'm aware that perhaps not everybody on the call today will have had a chance to go in and explore Marketplace Publish. So I'll give a very brief introduction. Then I'll hand over to Martin, who will give an introduction to tender requirements, exactly what it's intended to support, followed by a demonstration just to show Marketplace Publish and obviously the tender requirements functionality in action. Then we'll pop up a slide with some useful links that you may want to follow up on as more information will be available. And then obviously a Q&A. So if you do have any questions as we go through the presentation and the demonstrations, please do put those into the Q&A and we will recap and go back to those when we get to the questions and answers section, answer as many as we can. But if we don't get around to them all, we will be sure to answer them and you'll have access to those answers later. So without further ado, let me get started. So Marketplace Publish. So Marketplace Publish is a new addition, or not so new now. It's been around for probably 9 to 12 months that we introduced into the Constructionline account or your Constructionline account. The main benefits that you'll get from access to Marketplace Publish is that it helps you with your sourcing exercises. You can source from a network of up to 50,000 pre-qualified subcontractors that through Publish can be selected to match specific chosen criteria. Specifically, it's designed to speed up the process of publishing and managing responses to expressions of interest, requests for information, RFPs, RFQs, and even ITTs by having all the information in one place directly to hand. So rather than carrying out a compliance and search exercise in Constructionline and having to export that or manage that through email, you'll have everything in one place. And importantly, what Publish allows you to do by combining all the information available within Constructionline is manage the risk and make database decisions about which subcontractors, which suppliers you bring into that supply chain, increasing the transparency and ultimately, hopefully increasing success with tenders. So just a couple of further points on Marketplace and Marketplace Publish specifically before we get into the detail of tender requirements. Marketplace Publish is about Constructionline increasing the support in the source to contract process, taking the platform functionality just that little bit further by enabling the exchange of information between both buyers, publishers typically in this context, and any suppliers or subcontractors that you would want to engage with. It's the first time that we've really built a mechanism for allowing both parties to communicate with each other through the platform. It's designed to help publishers, buyers identify and reduce risk early in the tender process. By that, it means that it gives access to you through that EOI or tender management process all of the information directly available within Constructionline, so that you're able to actually pick suppliers that match certain criteria, whether that's a certain level of compliance, whether it's a certain size of organization or location of organization. All of that rich data that's available within the Constructionline platform is surfaced and accessible within Marketplace Publish. It does simplify and automate more of the tender process, hopefully saving time. As mentioned before, no need to export information, no need to manage in a separate system or in email. You've got that off-platform steps now all available in one place. You can analyze and perform all the actions in one platform. And ultimately, you've got greater insights into the supplier interaction. So when you publish, and we'll walk through this as part of the demo, you're able to see which of the suppliers or subcontractors have seen, opened, viewed, and responded to any of the opportunities that you may have selected them to or invited them to respond to. So at that point, let me hand over to my colleague, and he will walk you through the specifics of tender requirements. Over to you, Martin.
Thanks, Mike. If you could go on to the next slide, please. Great. So what are tender requirements? Tender requirements basically enables, as Mike said, publishers and suppliers to now exchange documentary evidence as part of the tender response process, or the tender process. Tender requirements themselves, they're available across any stage for a work package. So whether that's EOI, expression of interest, RFI, all the way through to the right-hand side there of IT through to ITT. The requirements, tender requirements themselves consist of two parts: the requirement and then the questions. The requirement acts as a logical grouping for the question. So you might have groups for, say, requirements for pricing, or for technical, for legal, any sort of like grouping that you wish to put together to form the basis of the questions that are part of that group and of that section. The questions themselves, these can actually be mandatory or optional from the supplier's perspective. So you can say that, you know, if you need a dedicated response to a specific question, then you can make it mandatory. Suppliers need to answer all mandatory questions when they return their response to you. So if they haven't filled out all mandatory questions, then they can't respond back to you. With the question enables you to upload supporting documents or templates. So as an example, if you need a document signed, or potentially if you need a document completed in based upon a certain template or a certain format, then you can upload that document as part of the question. Also, again, if you want to provide additional information in documentary evidence for a given question, then you can do that to help the suppliers better understand what you're looking for from an answer for that question. From the publisher's side and also from the supplier side, you're limited to 5 documents per question, and each document may be a maximum of 30 megabytes. We feel that that's plenty to start with and to be getting on with per question. So again, if you've got 3 questions, you can have up to, as the publisher, you can have up to 15 documents, and then the supplier could potentially respond with 15 documents in total as well for you. Compressed file, so sort of a zip file or a RAR file, and executable, so the .exe extension, those file types are not allowed onto the platform. So the platform will actually give you an error message if you inadvertently attempt to upload that file type, but other files like CSV, PDF, drawing, CAD files, all other file types will be accepted by the platform. Obviously, consider the suppliers also having access to those documents. So again, if it's a specific type drawing or CAD file that people or suppliers may not necessarily have the necessary CAD file on the other side. So if you can go to a generic format like a PDF, then that will obviously help the suppliers be able to access that document. And with the documents, when you're uploading those documents, then they are automatically scanned to protect yourselves and the suppliers from any potential cyber threats that may be contained within inadvertently contained within those documents. Okay, I think that's the next slide, please, Mike. Thank you. When we do the actual publishing, so once we've actually got the tender requirements in place, done all our matching to the suppliers who want to send and put all of that information together, when we publish, then that will automatically send email notifications out to the suppliers. And within that email notification, there's a direct link to that specific opportunity that you've just published. We'll also let suppliers know within that email whether there are tender requirements that they need to respond to. So again, we try to give them as much context within that email notification that's sent out to them. On the publisher side, from you as a publisher, then there's a daily email that you receive summarizing all the responses that have come through from all of your opportunities that you have published from the previous day. So when suppliers are maybe thumbs upping, thumbs down, sending in their responses to your tender requirements, then you'll get a summary per work package, and then you'll be able to, again, with links within that email, such that you can click on that and then take you directly into that work package and see the responses that have come in. Okay, I think the next slide's now the demo. Yeah, so if I share my screen. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so here I'm actually within the Constructionline platform. I've come into the marketplace area, and I've come into the publish app here, and I've got a list of my projects. I'm just going to go into this project here that I've prepared earlier. Within this project, I can see the information about the project and what we're building, in this case here, and I can see the different packages of work or work packages that have occurred. I can see the stage that they're currently in and the status of it. So we've got a fair few published here at the moment. I'm going to go into this draft work package here, and I'll take you through from left to right here. So the overview section here is where we put in as much information about the package of works description, so that the suppliers get a real good context of the opportunity and the work required. We could also in here include perhaps potential award criteria. So again, to give indicative ideas as to what you're looking for from a great response and from a great supplier organization that you want to work with. On the right hand side here, there's just a summary of all the information here about the stage, your package budget, any contact information. That's all optional. Just to quickly edit all of this information, I can come into edit, and all of that information is displayed in this form that's being displayed there. So I can add any of that information there through there. Attachments are different from tender requirements. Attachments here are any general information that you want to provide alongside that overview and description that is there for the suppliers to consume only, not to respond to. So it could be design plans as an example. So I can click here and download. So you can see that download has come up, and we can see the documents attached here. So again, it may be some plans or some drawings that you may want to share. We've also got here links. So these are links to websites or external sites. So again, this could be a marketing type page, or it could potentially be an internal type server if your organization allows access to third parties to consume data and information. So again, you can have as many attachments as you wish or as needed. The invitations tab shows us who we've actually matched against. So again, based upon the criteria of the work package. So again, the criteria generally says, where's the location of the work? What's the type of work we're looking for? And the platform starts to match. That gives you a list here, which I can view in table form here, or I can actually click through and I can actually see it as part of a map view. And the map view again gives us where the suppliers are located and whether the nearest office to the site location, to where the work is situated, is a head office as a star or a branch office as a suitcase there. And I can actually hover over the tooltips and then start to see which those suppliers are. Of course, I have the ability to change all of that information, and I can do that through the adjust criteria here. As I say, this is the type of work we're looking for and the location. What I'll quickly do here is, because this is in a large metropolitan area, East London, I'm going to change it from a radius to a specific location. So I'm going to go for Barking here as an example. And that then actually puts in the Barking area. And you can also see down here that it's reduced the number of suppliers. Again, if I update that, the number of match suppliers now has reduced. And if I quickly go through to map view and then just zoom out a little bit, you can see now how we're actually only searching for suppliers in these polygons in these specific areas. So again, if you're looking for a local supply chain, or if your clients are specifying that suppliers must come from a particular area, maybe a county or a borough or several boroughs, then we have the capability, and you have the capability of actually putting that in there as part of your criteria of where and how to match against those suppliers. Back in table view, we can also see here actually whether they're in the supply chain or not. So that gives us our list of suppliers. I'll quickly jump forward through to the actual tender requirements, which is the main topic for today. So I've already created a couple of tender requirements here. I've got one as additional information and one as commercial. And when I click open those requirements, I can then see the questions within those requirements. The screen works here on a WYSIWYG basis. What you see is what you get. So as an example, for commercial, I would like my pricing question to be ahead of my commercial, my other question here. So I can just click on the 6 dots and just drag and move that up so that its pricing now comes before commercial. Also, I actually want my commercial section to come ahead of my additional information. So I just want to drag that up there. So again, basically where we see the 6 dots, we can drag and move things around. From the create tender, what I'll do now is actually create a new tender requirement. So to do that, I'll come in here and I'm going to create a section called legal. So this is going to be my legal section for my requirement. As I say, the requirement itself is a grouping for a logical grouping for those questions. I get a success message and a prompt to say, what do I want to do next? I want to go back, add another requirement. Well, actually, I want to add a question. So I want to click into add a question. And I get the question name. So I'm going to say sign NDA. So please sign. Excuse my typing. The response type there is document. Now, in this case, because I want them to sign the NDA, I want to select a file. So I can come in here and I'll select my template that I want to give them. And this is where I can say whether it's optional or mandatory. So I'll just confirm that as mandatory. This is the scanning process. So the scanning process happens very, very quickly. And the system said that's all okay. And that's it created. There's the legal requirement. And then there is the question, the mandatory question underneath that. Okay, now that I'm happy with all of those details, I actually want to go and publish my stage. So I can simply click on publish. I get a summary of all the information. So the number of suppliers, the links, the number of tender requirements, the response closing date here. I've now got an option. I need to specify when I can view those tender responses. So this is me as the publisher saying when a supplier submits their responses in, can I see them straight away, so anytime, or can I only see them perhaps when the response window has been closed, or potentially when I've moved on to the evaluation stage? And the reason we have this here is it's to help support the envelope process. So potentially, or when you're looking at public sector tendering and things like that, you can only open and see the responses at given times. This contributes and helps towards that process, assisting in that process. I'm going to quickly go for any time here because this is for the demonstration. And I'm simply going to publish. I get a success toast message in the top right-hand corner. And what you would have seen is, or that would have now published the opportunity to those suppliers and sent emails out to everyone. As the publisher, as soon as I publish, I then get access to track responses. And we've got the tracker here for the status or the status of the work package here. But I've now got track responses. Track responses starts to show me all of the suppliers who I've published to and what they're doing with that opportunity. So I can see here at the moment that nobody has actually viewed that opportunity. If I put my supplier cap on quickly, then I'll quickly go through and track and just come in here to be a supplier. If I click on details, this is me as the supplier now, having clicked through and seen from my email, I've seen the information that's come through. I can see the plans, I can see the links. I can now see the tender responses. So I can see the legal, the commercial, and for each section, I can see the questions that I'll need to upload. Now that I've done that, I'll just go back in as a publisher quickly to show you that for that package, the track responses has now updated. So from that supplier there called CL Demo Main, I can now see it's viewed. So we're actually got real-time tracking in the platform for this. I'll now continue back as that supplier. And I'll go through and I'll first register my interest. So I'm going to say, this sounds great. And confirm that. That does my thumbs up back to the publisher. And now I'll just simply go through and do the tender responses. So I can download those documents and it will simply come down in here and I can then view and open that. But otherwise I will come through and attach my documents. Again, this is the virus scanning happening in real time as we do so. I can see in here that this question here is mandatory, whilst this one is not mandatory. So again, I'm going to go for the mandatory pricing response. We'll go in. And then I'm going to upload something into the additional information. And I'll just use that document there. Okay, when I'm happy with this, then I can click on send response. This is a one-time hit for the supplier. So supplier needs to be happy. And this is basically telling me, am I sure? Yes, I am. And I'll click through and submit. And that's the supplier has now submitted their tender requirement back to me. As the publisher, as I say, I'll get my daily notification coming through to me with links directly into the work package. But what you can now see is you can now see that CL Demo Main has thumbs up. I can also click on here to see their comment. And then I can actually click through here on the right-hand side and view and see the information. So I can see their responses. I can download those responses. So I can download them at the question or the requirement or overall for the entire package. So their entire submission, and that will open up a zip file for me. And I can go through and go through the zip file there. Back out onto the track responses, and I'll quickly take this through here. This the summary bar here gives me a tracking, so I can see how many people have viewed, how many people have thumbs down, how many people have thumbs up. But I can also see track the progress of these responses, so I can see those in progress, complete, and submitted. Now I'll just flip through to another one that's been created to give us a bit more information. So I can see here one that this is in progress, and basically I hover over the eye here, I can see that in progress represents the number of suppliers who have started, who have at least answered one mandatory question, but have yet to complete all of the mandatory questions. If I got a full purple circle, then it will come through and say they've completed, but they've yet to submit. And then I've got the green circle to say that they've submitted. I've also got a detailed view. So if I want to see how many mandatory questions and actually track the response level, also track whether they've downloaded the documents that have been there, then I've got that level of information and reporting there as well. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Mike now.
Thanks, Martin. So hopefully everybody found the demo useful. I think it's always important to be able to actually see something in action as opposed to just hear about it. So we're just wrapping up now. So what I wanted to do is just pop on the screen some links that I think you might find useful to follow up if you've got further questions. I think the first one is if you'd like a more detailed demonstration, you want to talk to somebody specifically, then please email the buyer success at constructionline.co.uk team. Otherwise, if you want to just read a little bit more about Marketplace and Marketplace Publish, then you can find more information on the constructionline.co.uk /marketplace, get the most from Marketplace website. So finally, obviously, thank you everybody for your attention. We've got a couple of minutes left. If anybody does have any questions that they'd like to put to either Martin or myself now, then please do use the Q&A button and we'll have a look and see if there's anything in there.
It doesn't look like we've got many questions come through, to be honest. Well, we've got one that's coming. When is this going live?
So this functionality is, I believe, Martin, it's live now.
Yes, it is. It's live in production, available for any publisher to use.
We've got another one come through. Can a supplier change a response after submitting?
Currently, today they cannot, but so it is a one-time submission, which is why there's a little bit of friction in a warning page. But we are investing more money and developing Marketplace, and that is certainly one of the items that we'll be looking to be able to do, which is for suppliers to be able to recall their submission, to be able to then change their answers and then resubmit.
Another one's coming. Can this be used on a NEC4 contract for tender responses for a project?
So Derek, I think let us look into that in a little bit more detail and come back to you. I don't have an answer for that immediately to hand, but we will be sure to look into that.
Another one's going. Can this product be branded to the user's company?
So there is no specific brand capability, but Martin, obviously, I think within any of the attachments that you may be putting into the tender requirements, clearly they can obviously be carrying your company brand so that when a supplier or subcontractor is downloading, reviewing and answering those, they know specifically that they've come from your business.
Yes, correct.
And we had another call that just a question came through about they don't have the option on their menu. So can we just double check that, because it's not a separate item as it were for tender requirements. It actually sits within the Marketplace Publish menu, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
It does. So potentially, if they don't have access to Marketplace Publish, I would suggest or recommend contacting Buyer Success. I think we've also know who the person is as well, so we can reach out afterwards and look at the user's permissions.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, and I think we saw Christian flash up there for a minute earlier. So what we'll try and do, we'll get Christian to reach out to people that attended today. So if there is anything that they have questions on how they can make use of publish and tendered requirements, etc., and hopefully we can get the most out of it for you. I think that's it for our questions today. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and we'll send a recording of this afterwards. So if you want to rewatch it back, you can do.
Thank you.
Cool. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone.